I want to share with you a story that I wrote a couple years ago, around this time of year. One of the reasons I want to share this with you is because it employs dialogue, which I want you to use in your stories. And we'll talk about that when the story is over. It also uses a hook to get listeners interested or readers interested in experiencing the story. Lastly, it has a pretty good example of a lesson or message, and that is why I wrote it in the first place, which is my mind or attitude completely changed by the end of this story. And that you can see by the writing in my journal. I sat down the morning after it happened and wrote furiously about the experience the night before. And it was dialogue that changed my mind. Okay, here's the story. I have a few unappealing tasks for you, said Sonia. I have a checklist. I was referring to a list of items necessary for preparing the house for winter, because it is starting to get cold. There are certain things we do before the heat kicks in so that our money isn't wasted. I had to take out air conditioners. We have window units. There were storm windows to replace screens, and I usually set mouse traps to capture those critters thinking about making my house their house for winter. There is something else. By the way my wife was looking at me and how she said this, I knew this was both not nice and important. We need to give the dogs baths. Ugh, this is a pain because we don't have a great place to do it. Outside is cold, and inside it's messy. Can you get hot water outside? Sonia inquired. I can, but it is a hassle. Plus, I don't know that I can. I confessed. It was a confession. I had made lots of unpleasant faces and groans when I learned of this pressing evening task. I had a lot to do already. In addition to the checklist, I have lots of schoolwork to do. Jeffrey threw up in his cage and then rolled around in it. When I let him out, he was all wet and disgusting. I rinsed out his cage, but he is still covered in it. Oh, now I got it. This is not something Sonia wants. We must clean Jeffrey. Jeffrey is a small dog, a Pomeranian. Although large for a Pomeranian, he is about 15 pounds, while most are only 8. He has the telltale long hair that all Pomeranians have. Also, he is a spaz. He is never still. Barks. No, he yaps, whimpers, wriggles, tries to get away, and if none of that sounds bad, he will wait for you to forget that he does this, and then shake all of his fur, soaking you and everything else. And that's the end of my story, or at least the portion of it that I wrote down in my journal. As you can see, it's a little sloppy. That's because I sat down and was writing it furiously the morning after it happened. I was probably tired, considering the story itself. But right now I want to point out a few things that this story has that I'd like to see you incorporate in your writing. The first thing is a hook. You want to start your story with something that'll draw the reader's attention. In my case, I started with dialogue, and my wife told me that there was something she wanted me to do that was unappealing. Now that was actually hyperbole because it was more than just unappealing. It was disgusting. The second thing I want to address is dialogue. Dialogue is speaking in text. So, when you use dialogue, you need to use quotation marks, and then it's usually helpful for the reader if you tell who it is that's speaking. You want to put a comma after your dialogue, and then an end quotation mark, and then tell who it is that's talking. Sometimes there's going to be text where there isn't a clear person talking. In this case, you have to actually use inferencing skills to figure it out. I wrote, I have a checklist, and then a period. Now in this case, The word I comes directly after the dialogue, so you know that it was me who was talking. As you begin writing dialogue into your stories, you should always tell who it is that's talking. But let me show you reading dialogue, because there were times when I didn't say who was doing the speaking, and you have to actually infer who it was. As you can see in the text here, it was my wife who said, "There is something else." But I don't come right out and tell you that right away. You have to figure it out by continuing to read. And then we need to give the dogs baths comes later on, and I don't even hint at who said that, but it was Sonia, because she's giving me the tasks to do. Sometimes figuring out who's providing the dialogue in a text is sort of a riddle, but that's part of what makes reading so much fun. So good luck employing dialogue and hooks in your writing. Start writing furiously.